After a 93-day hiatus following the coronavirus lockdown, Barcelona are set to resume the defence of their La Liga title against Real Mallorca. Real Madrid sit just 2 points behind Barca with 11 games to play. But how are both clubs and the rest of the league prepared for the return to action? If you start with Barcelona first, league leaders, what have been the biggest issues facing them this year?
God, where do you begin? It's been a pretty chaotic season at Camp Nou, as we know. We had the social media scandal when there was an allegation that the club was actually paying a PR company to not only boost the profile of Bartomeu, the president, and the board of directors, but also criticise and undermine key figures at the club, including Messi and Piqué, and that was pretty sensational. And I think the main challenge for Barcelona is just trying to focus on the football. And the coronavirus has, the pandemic and the lockdown has affected a lot of clubs, but it's actually really exposed all of the divisions at Barcelona. So nobody, arguably, from a financial and a sporting and a structural sense, has been more affected by this lockdown than Barcelona.
A big boost for Quique Setien would be the return of Luis Suarez, when it looked as though he'd missed the rest of the season. Suarez underwent surgery in January after injuring his knee in the Supercopa de España semi-final against Atletico Madrid. Despite the injury, the Uruguayan striker is still Barca's joint second top scorer this season with 14 goals.
It looked like his season was over. Barcelona weren't particularly happy that he underwent surgery at that time because they left him short up front, and obviously they made a mess of the transfer window. They didn't bring in a replacement until they had to get that emergency deal done for Braithwaite. But they've also recovered Umtiti, who's had obviously some major problems, knee problems over the last couple of years, and Ansu Fati as well is fit again, and both Umtiti and Fati returned to training last week. So the big thing, I suppose, from Quique Setien's perspective is that he'll have Griezmann, Suarez, and Messi available for selection for the first time, and that's their all-star striking lineup, and that could obviously could make a huge difference in terms of maintaining a top spot in La Liga.
There's 11 games left. Barca are top by 2 points. What are the sort of standout fixtures remaining on their calendar?
They still have to play Atletico Madrid. That's going to be a massive fixture. The fact that it's going to be played behind closed doors, they are really reliant, Barcelona, on their home form, because as we know, they are somewhat vulnerable on the road. They are susceptible to collapses. Those collapses usually occur away from home. So if you were to look at the Clásicos, I think they're the most kind of reflective performances. They've been indicative of how Barcelona have played. Like particularly if you look at the one at the Santiago Bernabéu, when Barcelona played quite well in the first half, and you had Piqué saying that they dominated Madrid and this and that, but they still lost the game 2-0, and so they look like a side that kind of work in progress, maybe a side in transition, you could say as well, that have talented players here, there and everywhere. Like you look at Frankie de Jong, who came in last year, and at times he looks like what he was, like made for Barcelona, because he's come from that Ajax school of football. But yet there's weaknesses here and there. Sergio Busquets in midfield is not the force he once was, and even Suarez himself has lost that kind of, he's not the force of nature he was like 1 or 2 years ago. So I think it's surprising that they're top. There's general concern about Barcelona at the moment and where they're going in particular.
Moving on to Real Madrid, what has been sort of the biggest issues knocking about for them? I know that Hazard was injured in February against Levante. He injured his ankle. I understand he's pretty much back and ready to go, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And Real Madrid are pretty excited about that, understandably. Hazard's time in Spain has been a disaster so far, I think it's fair to say. Now, the perception in Madrid was, you talk about making bad first impressions. It was up there with Jonathan Woodgate at Real Madrid, that he rocked up for training 5 kilos overweight, which he admitted himself. He said, when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation. When he started to have these niggling fitness problems, people were saying, well, maybe if he kept himself in better shape. The word is he's done well. He's stuck to his training program, and that Courtois said last week that he looks really sharp, and that I think Hazard will make a big difference. But it's not just Hazard actually coming back. Asensio coming back as well is a huge boost for them, because it looked like he was going to miss the entire season. And there's even talk that they could alternate in a bid, but we know the schedule is going to be very intensive, and people are really worried about injuries after such a long break, that we could see Asensio even rotating with Benzema in attack, because he's so versatile, because he's such a wicked left foot in him as well. Real Madrid have been fortunate in that sense, in that they've recovered a lot of guys who could make a real difference in attack which is where they've struggled all season long.
Real Madrid are unbeaten in 13 home La Liga games this season, but when action returns, they'll be playing all their home fixtures at their 6,000-seater Alfredo Di Stefano stadium, usually used by their reserve team, while the Bernabeu is being renovated.
They're going to have to hit the ground running because they have to play Valencia and Real Sociedad back-to-back this month. Both of those sides are going for Champions League, and we're playing reasonably well before the break, and we know Real Sociedad have caused Real Madrid problems this year.
Do you think that they can catch Barca?
I do, yeah. I think they have the slightly tougher fixtures. I was looking at Barcelona, the toughest one. Obviously, they have Atletico to play at home. We don't know how that's going to go. Their toughest fixture left is probably Sevilla away. Again, another side chasing Champions League. But if I were looking at it, I would favour Barcelona in terms of fixtures. I do think they have the edge. Again, Real Madrid, you could argue, have a larger squad, and that could benefit them because there's going to be so many games and there's going to be more substitutions. And that's what the rest of La Liga are worried about, is that it's just going to favour Real Madrid and Barcelona because they have larger squads. But if I was looking at the two squads at the top, I would say Real Madrid's is probably stronger than Barca.
It's not just tight at the top in La Liga. The race for Champions League places is separated by just 2 points, with Atletico Madrid lying in 6th, thanks to the fact their goal return of just 31 is lower than all 5 sides above them, with the loss of Antoine Griezmann to Barcelona in the summer clearly having an impact in attack.
That's been the major problem. Defensively, they've still been okay, even with Diego Godin as well leaving last summer for Inter. They've done reasonably well defensively, but you do worry about them scoring goals, and that's why it was very surprising to see them beat Liverpool and come from behind to beat Liverpool and score 3 times in extra time. It kind of came out of nowhere because Atletico have really struggled for goals this season, but it's very competitive, as you say, and some of those sides have played a lot better than Atletico have this season.
Aside from Atletico, who are your favourites to make it into the Champions League?
I would love to see Sociedad make it. I think they've been fantastic to watch with a Real Madrid player, Odegaard, playing particularly well. After that, Sevilla, possibly with Ocampos, but we talked about earlier on about sides that might be galvanised during the break. I think Atletico might be one of those sides that really comes out and really hits the ground running and really plays with a determination and a ferocity for which they're known, but that might actually propel them back into the top 4.